Well, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I have finally for you a layout update. I did not clean this layout up at all for this layout update, but we'll start over here on the little rural scene. If you go down to about here, it looks the best, but I have reballasted this scene. I've added low-level terrain, and I've added trees, and these MTH crossing gates, which I've had for a while. There was an MTH auction when they kind of sold off a lot of their assets, and I bought another set of crossing gates that were their prototype crossing gates, and I was able to repair, kind of kit bash, a non-working crossing gate and a working crossing gate together so that I could have two working crossing gates because they were getting old. And the way these operate is there's a little gear inside that runs up and down, little gear teeth, so that the mechanism for lowering and raising the gate is hidden. And that's what I like about these. There's no little wire raising and lowering the gate. I also like the fact that they say 2 tracks on them, and they're, flashing LEDs. So I was able to get those working. I just have to reposition the sensor, and that is what I've done on this scene, along with gluing down the ballast. I've used rock ballast versus walnut shell ballast on the actual track, so I've got to clean that up a little bit. And then there's walnut shell ballast along the side of the roads that I've glued down as well to kind of get that blended look. Try to get that again down at track level where it looks like the road's going off into infinity. I also fixed the lighting on one of these because it came from Woodland Scenics with lights broken. I don't know, LEDs are more of a problem than I thought they would be over time, but that light broke, so I got that going, and the other lights are already working, so the scene lights up at night as well. Over here on the bridge scene, nothing changed here, but I do have a 3D printed bridge that I'll be installing on this scene, and I'm going to take all this out and redo it so that there's no longer a foam insert here. It's going to be some Sculptamold, and I'll be matching up the bridge scene and just protecting that backdrop. These backdrops, people ask me, are from tracksideScenery.com, so it's an affordable backdrop. Nothing here on this side. I'll zoom out a little bit. This will end up being Omaha's Burlington Station. Another kit that's in progress is the Walther's Union Station kit that looks almost very, very similar to Omaha's Burlington Station. So there'll be platforms off on the side of that. That's going to barely fit in this area. We're going to have a backdrop, and with the platform offset, it will fit. The platform directly in front of it, I think I'd come up a 1/4 inch short from the edge of the track or the roadbed, and I don't want to redo that. This scene over here, where there's a bunch of junk right now, will end up being an overpass scene going off into an urban, urban area with buildings and stuff is the plan. So there'll be a road running all the way down here and overpass over to a urban scene. So this area of the track will be going under an overpass, and that's another Walther's kit. Nothing with these bridges, but if this 3D printed bridge ends up working out for me, I will be changing these to something more realistic to match the length, because there are 3D printed bridges where you can dictate the length. Over here on the farm scene, I've redone all the ballast with rock ballast, taken out all the walnut shell ballast. There's some faded areas where the glue had a different thickness or whatever, but the more I look at this, the better it looks, because the more realistic it looks. Also, just like on the city scene, I forgot to mention that I did, when I stripped all the ballast off, I went ahead and used Rust-Oleum camouflage paint, brown paint, to paint the rails. So now we have painted rails, obviously with the exception of the points of the switch, but you have painted rail, which looks more realistic as well. And that brown, that flat brown color also was on the ties, so the ties look pretty darn good as well. And I have sitting here, I'll move those so you can get a good idea of the scene, but here are all the whistle post signs for the train to blow its horn. And here's a new look at this rural scene. I've put up trees as well, so that's looking a little better. Obviously I still have more details to put on this, but that scene is looking a lot better in my opinion. And now to the new scene as we work our way around. This scene here, yes, there is a gap there. I'm going to work on redoing that a little bit, repositioning so the gap disappears. But this new scene here, you see a change in the ballast. I went from the ballast with real rock to back to the walnut shells. A couple of reasons for that I'll explain in a minute. One, I wanted to see how it turned out. I think it would have turned out a little better if I picked a darker gray, but I did not. I picked a medium ballast mix. But the other reason, other than seeing how it would turn out, is I figured there's going to be a lot of ballast for this large yard. And this yard is actually the time saver puzzle switching setup, so people can actually do that time saver puzzle. There's some weeds there. These trackside buildings from Walders are hard to find these days, so I'm glad I could find those in my stash of stuff. Backdrops again are trackside scenery, and you'll see a couple different kind of trackside shots here. There'll be this one first, where I'm kind of down at track level there. You'll see this occasionally over here. I did have a little bit of a bubble in between the merge of the backdrops. Trackside scenery could not do a backdrop as long as I wanted, so we had to split it in two. And I kind of wish I would have done a really short one back here somewhere and then the longer one, but I did about a quarter or a third and 2/3 of the way down the way there. I've added terrain here, just finished this area. But once you get over here past a little bit of a bubble there is a large shadow coming from this AC joint here, box, or whatever you want to call it. It's basically just where the air is blowing through, but there is a little bit of a wrinkle in the backdrop there. That's the original NASA set, my very first train entering the hobby in 2009. But as you can see, terrain through here. I still need to do static grass. I put up the little Walders bumper kits. I think they're called Hayes bumpers. So you'll see that those scenes there. Then from here, you'll see a scene as well where I'm just kind of down on the track from here. Now you see these ugly re-railers here that aren't realistic. I kind of have those installed just for the bridge. I can remove them later and install track if things work out, but this is a second bridge that will be installed. All right, last but not least, for updates anyway, I began this section of the layout, and all I've done so far is put down cork and cork over here. Now I've got to cut out that hole. I've got to paint all the cork. I've got a tan color that's going to be painted. This is going to be Cheyenne, Wyoming, and a very, very loose interpretation of the roundhouse and shops there for the UP Steam program. And I do have a company that has an accurate Cheyenne background, even though it's not the right orientation for the roundhouse and the car shop. It will have Cheyenne in the background, and that's going to be, I believe, 96 inches long and 36 inches tall. So from this perspective, you'll be able to see most of a good look at that part of the layout. You'll see trains sneaking by back here. This roundhouse will be positioned over here some, so you'll be able to see trains going by in the background, and I'll still be able to reach all but about a foot of track, and I'll have to get a ladder to reach that other foot if something derails back there with that large backdrop when that's installed. That is still quite a ways off, but that kind of gives you an overview of the layout and what it looks like, and what's planned. So just for geographical purposes, you're looking at the north here, and then over here will be the east, Chattanooga area, southern Tennessee, Chattanooga's, or I should say Ottawa, Tennessee's Volkswagen auto rack facility, and a Volkswagen plant will be there. This is just kind of Appalachia. That's going to be zipping over to Omaha, and a more kind of rural farm as you work your way to Cheyenne down here. So it's really compressed. It goes, Cheyenne, northward, and then you're going to end up over here in Appalachia, and then Omaha like immediately after. So you're going to go from Tennessee area to Omaha really quickly, and then transitioning back to Cheyenne, you will end up in a rural scene on your way to Cheyenne. So let's just say western Nebraska, maybe the beginnings of Colorado, while things are still relatively flat. So that's about it. Those were the scenes I wanted to incorporate in the layout, so I didn't really think about mileposts or any of the crazy stuff. This is not going to be one of those picturesque layouts, but it will look decent and presentable. And then once all that's done, fascia will go up. If I get really tired of looking at ugly wood, then I'll put fascia up ahead of time. So that's it for the layout. One other cool thing is I do take some time off from layout work and reviews to spend time with the kids. And we built this Lego Eiffel Tower that's almost 5 feet tall. And I've got a case for it to keep dust off of it, which was a really big pain in the butt to get down here and over the top of that, kind of unnerving. And we're going to be building the Lego Titanic as well. So workbench is a mess. Got some products here. I had some custom prime intermodal containers done by a custom guy, because I'm working on a huge 120 plus car intermodal train. So that'll be good as well. I think you guys have seen the TV I put down here. It kind of gets me motivated to be down here so I can listen to my news and all that jazz. And Athearn's released the new P42 versions. So those are out. I won't be doing a review because I've done 500 P42 reviews, but I did just wrap up recently this review on the AC 4400s. So this little area here, I'm going to look at what's kind of in a yard and try to find something that would fit prototypically, but I need to do static grass and stuff as well. So with that said, thanks for watching. That's a layout update for now. We'll see you next time right here on the channel. Take care.
Many of the products you see in this video are available at trainworld.com. Since 1968, this family-owned business has been serving the needs of the modeling community with 2 New York brick-and-mortar store locations in Brooklyn and Long Island, plus their vast array of online items. Shop 24/7 at trainworld.com.